Patricia Gibson.
Deputy Speaker, and before I begin my speech, I'd like to pay tribute to the Backbench Debate Committee for bringing this debate forward, and I also want to pay tribute to some of the very moving testimony we've heard today, some of the contributions, particularly from the member from Penistone and Soxbridge and the member from Sutton and Cheam, who certainly told us quite harrowing tales of their experience with constituents. This debate today, of course, follows in the wake of the publication of Women's Aid's 19 Child Homicides Report, and it's an extremely important debate, and there is no doubt that there is much more reflection and circumspection required about the treatment and experiences of those who have been subject to domestic abuse in family courts. This report, 19 Child Homicides, tells the tragic and appalling stories of 19 children, all intentionally killed by a parent who was also a known perpetrator of domestic abuse over a 10-year period. And these killings were made possible by unsafe, formal and informal child contact arrangements. Shockingly, the report uncovers a range of concerns with the system managing child contact, including routine failings to follow legal protocols and a lack of professional understanding about the power and control dynamics of abuse. One of the issues which I think is worthy of our consideration is that domestic abuse itself has not been a criminal offence, so single incidents are prosecuted under a range of offences, such as common assault or rape, although there has been a new criminal offence in England of coercive control. However, because it may prove difficult to prosecute this kind of abuse in a court of law, the First Minister of Scotland has announced a new domestic abuse bill as part of the Scottish Government's programme, putting Scotland at the forefront of nations in tackling the true nature of domestic abuse. And this bill will include criminalisation of psychological abuse, as well as providing a range of associated measures to modernise the justice system and how it responds to domestic abuse. And this is being debated in the Scottish Parliament on this very day. Whilst it's clear that domestic abuse is underreported, there is a growing understanding of the damaging impact which non-physical forms of abuse can have on those who are subject to it, methods of control and even threatening to harm others, including children. And in Scotland, the creation of a new offence of domestic abuse is, I believe, an extremely important development, and I would urge the Minister to reflect carefully on this measure. Creating this offence, I think, will have a potentially very significant impact on how society views domestic abuse by ensuring there is clarity about what is unacceptable under the law. And this will make efforts from the police services and the prosecution services much more effective in dealing with domestic abusers. But importantly, it will bring clarity for those who have been subjected to domestic abuse that the justice system is focused on their needs and the needs of their children. Protecting people in abusive relationships and their children, as we've heard so much about today, must be the overriding objective. We spend a lot of time in this chamber talking about children's literacy, their education, indeed even their obesity levels. But before we can tackle any of those issues, we must ensure that sufficient measures are put in place to keep them safe from harm, even when necessary from an abusive parent, and family courts must be mindful of this. Where domestic abuse is an issue, it has to be presumed that contact with the abusive parent is not in the best interests of the child or the non-abusive parent, who could be required to leave them in considerable danger. It's important that family courts consider the parenting capacity of the abusive parent and the likely impact of past and future abuse on their ability to parent safely their child and the safety of the non-abusive parent. It is absolutely vital that family courts prevent further child deaths by always putting children first in family courts, and this really requires something of a cultural change within the family court system to ensure that the safety and well-being of children and non-abusive parents is understood and consistently prioritised, and we've heard plenty of cases today where that has apparently not been the case. When a partner is in an abusive relationship, children in that household are not safe either. And that is an obvious reality towards which all the evidence points. And I would urge the Minister to look carefully at the measures being put forward in Scotland by the First Minister. It doesn't matter where governments learn from or which examples they follow. The only thing that matters is that lives are improved, or, as we've heard today tragically, that lives are saved, most specifically the lives of children. The 19 child homicides report should give us all pause for thought. One child killed by a parent or carer is one child too many. And these children have no voice. We must be their voice. We must ensure that our justice systems in all corners of Scotland, in all corners of the United Kingdom, serve our children well and keep them safe.
Yeah, yeah.